morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday morning. I am your host, Mr. Kadish. Get it right. And today we have a lot to talk about, especially when it comes to alt media platforms such as Rumble. And we're going to get into that in just a little bit. But first, I need to introduce my fantastic panel of nerds, starting with Matt Vader 74, who is very audibly sighing as I went through my introduction. How you doing, buddy?
I'm having a rough morning, to be honest with you, but I'll be okay.
You're always having a rough morning.
I'm technologically disadvantaged, and I'm having problems. I'm hearing myself twice in my microphone headphones right now, and I don't know why. I don't know. So I'm just gonna go through the whole thing, being an idiot, and it's nothing new. It's fine. It's okay.
Well, speaking of nothing new, he's here, he's queer, he's our Latinx shield against all things woke. Brian from the Popcast, how you doing, buddy?
Even though there's a much more Latinx member of our panel here, but I will gladly take that moniker. Not bad, my friend.
Hey,
not
speak
bad.
for yourself. Speak for yourself. All right.
I'm talking about my taco brother from another mother, Mexican Iron.
Sorry.
Man.
Yeah, he would leave if I referred to him as that, so I'm not going to. Speaking of which, the not a YouTuber who hates California more than anyone else on this panel, Mike, the Mexican Iron Man, is here. How you doing, buddy?
I am stuck in this hell. Let me look into the camera over to the side. I am stuck in this hellhole state. I have informed all my clients on the West Coast that I am not coming back for India tax planning. I just paid $609 for regular unleaded, premium with $649. Brian, I left this state 2.5 years ago. You and your people have let this place go to hell in a handbasket.
Whoa. Not my people. I live in a red district, bro. It's not me.
Whatever.
I live in Orange County. We are solid red/purple.
Right.
Slowly turning into a blue district.
Anyways, I can't wait to leave this hellhole. And I wish I didn't have any clients here. And if it wasn't for clients and family, I would never, ever come back to this
It's
hellhole.
okay. If you work at McDonald's, though, here, you make $20 an hour.
Yeah,
so.
You people are just stupid.
A Whopper is $35 and some fries are $13. No big deal.
Anyway, but I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yep. Thanks for being here, Mike. And just so everyone out there knows, Brian Montgomery is basically personally responsible for everything that happened in California. So you can blame him for everything you want to complain about.
I can't leave. I'm trying to leave. I'm trying to go to Vegas for like 2 years now. I can't leave.
Yes, you can. You just refuse to.
I can't. There's too many people that rely on me here, man. It sucks. I hate being an upstanding member of my community.
Yes, and welcoming him back for the second time on Salty Saturday Mornings, we have the Sidescroller himself, Stuttering Craig. Welcome back, sir.
Man, I'll tell you what. I have no desire to go to California and eat off the $10 menu, because I think that was it the dollar menu they had now, and now because of
it was a dollar menu 10 years ago. Now it's going to be the $40 menu.
Right. Oh man, you get your small fry for only $9.99. Congratulations.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm glad to be with you boys this morning. I'm trying something new. Usually I'm staring here, but today I'm staring here because I want to be able to see your beautiful faces throughout the stream, and I figured that you could look at my nice side of my face. Is that okay, or should I turn back?
I mean, you have nice earlobes.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, sounds good. But yeah, I'm glad to be hanging out with you guys. This should be a really fun conversation. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, glad, very happy to have you back. So just want to give a big shout out to everyone who's waiting in the chat. We have Anthony Mark, who's always the first one here. We have Lord Toth, Ghost Beetle, No Money. Gee, how you doing, No Money? The Rogue Attraction is here. We got Gavin Blackburn, Super Sticker Extraordinaire. We got Danny's Mom Penny, Anima Confusa, Trivia Queen. We got Wendy Hunter. Who else do we have in the chat? BMG 2040, Thrasher 613, Keely Chow is in the chat, along with Kocho Dragon and Super Gifter Jillian N. Good to see you. Atoy Fanboy is here, and Mr. Farnsworth, and Matt Vader super fan William Forbus represent
The
in
Forbes.
chat. The Forbes.
The Forbes.
And we got Regis Red. We've got, who else do we got here today? We got Tracy, we got Victor Fontaine. Everyone, thank you so much for being here this morning. Really appreciate it. Love seeing you guys in the chat. But we need to give a shout out to our top contributors real quick. We have our Salty Saturday superstars, the king of these super chats, William Forbus, still sits pretty at the top with a $500 super chat, all from Matt Vader. And we got Scotty Dub, Bob Dorsey, and of course the AstroNerdBoy. And our loyalists are also in the chat. We got Joker's Voice and Mexican Iron Man, who's actually on the panel today. Mikey, thank you so much for your stalwart support of the Salty Nerd podcast. Salty Saturdays, always appreciate it. And in addition to Mr. Forbus, we also have our top gifters, WG and Jillian N, people who have donated the most gifted subs. We thank you guys so much for that generosity. It's really fantastic. Real quick, we have a membership goal for this live stream, which is if we can get just 5 new members on the live stream, that's going to be great to hit our goal. Vader wants to go for 10, but we have to hit 5 first. And we also would like it if you guys could give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, because we're trying to get enough to be accredited as official movie reviewers over on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's what they require us to have tons of 5-star reviews. Apple Podcasts.
I don't think they're ever going to accept our application.
They may not, but it doesn't mean we can't try. And also, for all of you wonderful people in the chat, we want to remind you that if you like our show, please share the link on your social medias and encourage people to come over here. And if you can't get the link, just remember saltynerdlive.com takes people right to our current live stream and our scheduled future live stream. So if you can't remember that, just do saltynerdlive.com and whatever your favorite social media app is, and it'll take them right here. Now, guys, I have a bit of a controversial announcement to make, which is we are not going to be accepting super chats during this live stream. In honor of our guest, Stuttering Craig, we are only accepting hater bucks for the remainder of the first 2 hours of our show. So we are here to monetize the haters for this live stream in honor of Stuttering Craig, and only accept hater bucks.
Man, I'll tell you what. Listen, I did one stream like that, and it was the monetize the haters thing was a total homage to Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, who always talks about monetizing the haters and the whole DSP thing. And I'll tell you what, man, just the whole Dark Side Phil thing is going to follow me around for the rest of my career. The monetize the hater thing, people will cling to that and be like, "Oh, you did the monetize the haters thing." And I got to be honest, I have no regrets.
No regrets. Craig, so just to give some context to this, and this is legendary, so I have to run it down. So you famously interviewed Darkside Phil on Sidescrollers with Adam Krigler.
Yes.
Hard-hitting journalist Adam Krigler, no less. And basically called Phil out on all of his BS live on the air. And it was one of the most epic interviews I think anyone's ever seen in the gaming space. And then afterwards, Phil did what Phil does, and he started attacking you guys and calling you the haters and the detractors and all this stuff. And so I guess you had kind of had a back and forth with him where you were going to go on his show, and he actually agreed to that, but then never brought you on the show. And so you were doing a concurrent live stream with him, waiting for him to invite you on, and you were accepting hater bucks during that live stream. So can you just give us a rundown of what's been going on with Darkside Phil?
Nothing has. Now, look, we didn't have an agreement where we did not. I want to be clear. We did not have an agreement where I was going to be on his show. But it was one of those things where I was like, he was yapping off about us specifically. So I was like, look, if you got something to say it to me. Like, say it to me, say it to Adam. So I went live and I just sat there and I said, like, I'm going to sit here until you invite me on your show. And I was live for a few hours and I just waited and, we watched some of his stream. We just kind of hung out there. And then I just kind of it really bothered me. And honestly, it was one of those things where it was like classic Phil, where I got sucked back into the vortex. Because prior to that, it had been months since I really thought about it. But he was like, he said something and it was prodding. And honestly, after that stream, I was like, I don't want to do this crap anymore. I'm really tired of dealing with Phil and all that, because I still see people all the time, and I will see this for years because it was a good interview. Just people talking about Phil in my timeline, or some people comparing me to Phil and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, but like it goes back to the thing that was said on the podcast was Phil is still at level 1, and he's been at level 1 for 15 years, right? He has not advanced his career at all. And I've beat the game. Like I've created a company, I've sold a company, I've literally beat the YouTube game before. And same with Keemstar, right? Like we've done there, we've seen success in this space. And it's just amazing to see the hubris attached to him still. And like even today, there was a video that was put in my timeline of him kind of talking about how he makes the best content and everyone else is horrible. And it's like, all right, cool, man. I didn't know that there was like some, rating every single time that you go live and everyone else goes live that tells you how good your stuff is. Ultimately, the audience decides. And I would dare to say he has more hate watchers than actual viewers of his show. All right. They're like, oh, he has 500 people watching. I would say he probably has about 300 people who hate watch his show compared to like a couple hundred,
Still counts.
It still counts. Yeah, it still counts. But, I want to say they're like super excited to be there. They're there so they can make content to make fun of him, which is funny. So, big ups to those guys and all that. So, yeah, it was a fun little story arc with Phil. And I'll tell you this. The best thing about the interview with Phil was it gave us direction for the channel and it gave us direction for the podcast. Because now every Thursday we have one-on-one interviews with lots of great people. I mentioned Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. I did Salty Cracker and Razor Fist. And, I've had a lot of really great people. The guy who played Vega in the Street Fighter 2 movie, right? Like I've interviewed a lot of great people. So that DSP interview has spawned off into a number of other, given us direction, which is something we didn't have early on. So anyways, yeah, there's the lore.
Nice. Very nice. Want to give a quick shout out to Jillian N for gifting 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships, already hitting our goal. And now Vader has insisted that we up that.
No, we already hit it.
We did?
Yeah. Forbus gifted 10 as well.
Okay. Well, then I guess we're going to have to up that to 20. But
I think you should up it to 50. That's what I think. Just for sheer giggles. Why? Because why not?
I think the most important thing is that if you got a gifted membership, you need to make sure that you renew it when the month trial membership is over. Because what I can tell you, someone who's been a member here since almost the beginning, I know I was one of your first members. To you guys, I had to have been. Yep. And I just want to say, membership has its benefits. You get all kinds of exclusive content, and you're not you're not one of these channels that just forgets about people. Your members when they sign up, you literally get the stuff that they promise you're going to get. So
I think our exclusive content's my favorite, actually.
It is some of the most hilarious stuff I've ever seen from nerddom everywhere.
Because
it is infinitely entertaining.
It's off the rails. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
What's insane is oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say what's insane about this is that prior to getting started, Matt Vader said that if we hit 50 subs, he'll actually take off his pants during the show, which is crazy.
Bro, they're already off. What are you talking about?
My bad. Sorry. You're not supposed to tell him that part. Yeah?
Well, guys, just so you know, this coming Monday, because we release members-only content every Monday, is probably going to be one of the funniest members content videos we published yet, because Vader was drunk as usual.
No, I wasn't.
And he went off on an epic rant that, in fact, on Sunday, we're dropping a highlight from the members episode because it was that funny.
You're embarrassing.
But it's definitely worth checking out. We have our members-only playlist on there. But everyone, thank you all so much for being here in the chat. And we've already got some hater bucks that we want to highlight real quick. We have Mexican Iron Man for $5. Super chat. There are like 3 Latinos on this panel. Wow, way too many brown folk. Close the Salty Nerd live stream border and build a firewall.
We'll build a wall. We'll build it bigly. It's going to be a great wall. It's going to be fantastic.
We love
it's going to be great. It's
going to be huge. Okay, like it's fantastic. We're very inclusive here on the Salty Nerd podcast. For No Money G for 5 hater bucks. Here's a few more hater bucks. Thumbs up. Thank you, No Money G. Always appreciate your hater bucks. And Gavin Blackburn for a £2 super hater sticker, hater $/pound/pence. That's right.
Hater pounds. I like that.
Hater pounds. Exactly.
Yeah.
And we also have William Forbus for $10, 50
God.
subs, done. Sorry, Vader, about the audio issues. S&P Invasion review over 5K views. Please keep clothed, LOL. So he's super chatting to keep your pants on, Vader.
Okay. Deal.
Ah.
I only take my clothes off on Culture Casino stream. Just for
That's
the
right.
record. So,
That's right. The nudie stream, as we like to call it.
yeah.
And speaking of Culture Casino, for $5 hater bucks, $5 so Vader does not take off any clothes. In fact, put more on.
It's it's almost hoodie season. I'm looking forward to hoodie season here very soon. So.
I just want to say real quickly, I see Culture Casino there. I just want to say he's busted for talking smack about me Friday night on Troy Pacelli's show, and I put it on Twitter and called him out. Thank you.
William Forbes just gifted
Yes,
50
50
new subscriptions.
Jesus.
He is the
Big shout
madman.
out to Jillian N.
Indeed.
Oh, here we go.
but those were to keep your clothes on, Vader.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's Craig. Not
So since we have 3 Latinos and I'm gonna do this Salty Nerd podcast feature, instead of saying 50, I'm gonna say 50.
50. I like that. It's very progressive. Very good. Let's see here, Culture Casino. Thank you all so much for your hater bucks.
crazy.
We are here to monetize the haters today in honor of the OG hater monetizer, Stuttering Craig, being on our panel. All right, guys. Yeah, so we've got all that out of the way. Now let's. What's going on here? I'm trying to add a stream marker, but it's not letting me. I wonder why. It's
I
weird.
don't know.
Okay, so let's start talking about DC Universe and how nothing Zack Snyder did is now canon.
Oh yeah.
Now, we have a little bit of an interesting story here, and I found it on Twix under the discussing film thing, but basically James Gunn, I guess, is on Threads. It's like one of the only people over there. And I was like, huh, this is interesting. So basically he came out and basically said what's canon and what isn't in the upcoming DCU. And basically nothing before the appearance of Creature Commandos is going to be considered canon. And Creature Commandos is the very first James Gunn DCU project, which means that everything Zack Snyder did is wiped off the face of the map when it comes to DCU continuity. However, there's still confusion on this because there are certain plot threads and characters that he's carrying over from the Snyder era, which include Zolo Meridunia, who plays Blue Beetle. He's the kid from Cobra Kai. And we also have Viola Davis as Amanda Waller and John Cena as Peacemaker. So those are the only
And
three.
probably Momoa.
No. So those are the only three that we have confirmed that James Gunn specifically stated are going to be reprising their roles going forward in his DCU. No one else, not Momoa, not Gal Gadot, not Ben Affleck. No one has been confirmed to remain in their roles going forward.
Right.
So this basically muddies the waters even more because it's like, well, all this stuff is part of the Snyder era continuity, but you're carrying some of it over and you're ignoring other parts of it. And so a lot of people are basically kind of complaining that there's no clear vision for the future of the DCEU. So Brian, I wanted to get your take on this because you are very much kind of tuned in to DC stuff. You have a DC centered channel. What is your take on this? And by the way, everyone, all the links to the stuff we talk about is in the description. So if you want to see the source material that we pop up on screen, you can find the link in the description. But Brian, what's your take on James Gunn just being clear as mud on his vision for the DCU?
Yeah, I think that James is in a weird place where he has to he doesn't want to have to deal with all the Snyder drama. He wants to be able to make what he wants to be able to make, but he also likes some of these characters in these roles. In fact, some of these people are his friends. So I think that he is in a weird position where, sorry, he wants to keep, Viola Davis, and he wants to keep John Cena, and Blue Beetle was actually produced by his partner, if I remember correctly. So they want to keep these people that are part of like their team, and I think he likes them in these specific roles. But he also wants to do whatever he wants to do. I don't really have a problem with this. We knew that when Gunn took over that things were going to change. He doesn't want to continue the Snyder vision because the Snyder vision is very divisive. And I love the Snyder movies, don't get me wrong. But it's very divisive. A lot of people are on the fence either way. He doesn't want to have to deal with like a rotten core. So he wants to start his new core, but he also wants to keep all these people that came from, the Snyder series. I find it interesting at the end of that thread, whatever, there's also a mermaid with a trident, which I found hilarious. I do believe that Momoa will be staying as Aquaman, or if not Aquaman, some other character in
Lobo.
Snyder's.
Yeah,
Lobo. If not Aquaman, then probably Lobo. But I do believe that Jason Momoa will be a part of James Gunn's DC. I like it. If we can't get a continuation of the series that we've already been watching, the Snyder Vision, then this is what we got, and at least it's being ran by someone who is he wants to creatively do whatever he wants to do. A lot of new showrunners would come in and just trash everything and just do whatever. And I think Viola Davis is actually great in that role. That's one of the only roles I like her in, to be honest. So I'm completely cool with that.
You don't like the Woman King? Come on, man.
Dude, the Woman King. That movie is like, if you watch it and you're just getting more and more mad the entire time. You're like, this is so stupid. None of this makes any sense. No, I didn't like that movie at all. But I did like her. I do like her as Amanda Waller. I think that James Gunn's gonna do some awesome work, and obviously, I can only theorize that it's gonna be good because we haven't seen it yet. But everything I've ever seen that James Gunn has done, I've liked for the most part. In fact, I think that James Gunn at some point, and I remember reading this somewhere, or someone telling me that he was like almost Snyder's mentor for a while. So a lot of the Snyder vision that we got. Some of that already came from James Gunn, and you just don't realize that yet. I think that James Gunn has the ability to turn this franchise around, and I am a massive DC fan. Like, I love DC more than Marvel by a long shot. The only reason I've liked any of the Marvel stuff is because that was really all we had for a long time. And I do think Endgame is a masterful last movie to Marvel because there's no other Marvel movies that came after that. So that's the best Marvel, that's the best Marvel movie, and that entire franchise was amazing. But I've always been a DC guy, so I've always wanted DC to come up, which is why the second Marvel started dropping, I'm like, I'm going to start a DC channel. Hopefully, we get some interest. Now, my DC views have gone way down since James Gunn took over. I think people are not really excited yet about this new DC thing, but I think when it does come out, I think that if James Gunn hits it like he's supposed to, I think if Legacy's actually good, like if Legacy is good, then we're good. If Legacy's garbage, then that's probably the end for DC for a decade or so. But I believe that James Gunn has the ability to do it.
Well, Craig, Brian mentioned how interest in DC has gone down, and a lot of people kind of blame Gunn for announcing this big slate that he has planned for DC, and it kind of ignores the movies that were coming out this year. So it ignored The Flash, it ignored Shazam, it ignored Aquaman. And basically people are like, why should I bother watching these movies if there's no point in watching them for the future storyline? Because the whole point of a cinematic universe is to create a kind of like a perpetual motion machine where it's like you have to watch each movie to understand the meta story that's all building up to something. And when you take that away, audiences just kind of check out. And we've seen that with the box office for Flash. We've seen that with the box office for Blue Beetle. We've seen that with the box office for Shazam. So do you think it was a mistake for James Gunn to basically come out and invalidate this year's slate of DC movies by announcing stuff that he has planned for the future that completely ignores this stuff.
Right. So will you start with another question? Ask me, when was the last time I went to a theater to go see a DC movie?
When was the last time you went to a theater to see a DC movie?
Never. Actually, I think I have like a Superman movie a while back, maybe like Superman. I don't even remember what the title was, but
Man of Steel.
Maybe that was like 2006, right? The thing about franchising and creating a universe, and this is something that I've fallen into greatly, is whenever you make a sequence of movies that all tie together, once you miss one, you feel totally out of the loop. And that is something that I've struggled with, whether it's Marvel, whether it's DC, whether it's Harry Potter, whether it's pick anything that has a number of movies attached to it. Once I miss one, I have a very hard time of devoting that time to get back into it. So I feel like I'm out. Now, obviously the strategy has worked for a lot of people, but that's just me. As far as kind of retconning everything that came before him, it's interesting because I would say for people like me who feel like they fell out, I could see us. And then, by the way, this is my first time hearing this, right? So if they came out and said like pretty much everything you've seen prior to this is, it's void, right? Don't just forget it. That to me is a fresh start. So it may get me into, let's say it has a higher probability of getting me into it than just going in the way they had it before. Because, I don't like Blue Beetle to me is nothing, right? I'm not a comic book fan. I've never been a fan of DC or Marvel. So I see these things from afar, right? And what these movies do is they build these characters into public consciousness, right? Like Rocket Raccoon for Marvel was nothing prior to him being
not a
in
popular
that, right?
character. Right.
No, not at all. Like I remember seeing him in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and being like, who is this guy, right? But I think that's what they're trying to do with obviously like Blue Beetle and characters like that, because that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. It's a very fringe character. For me, it's like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Hulk. I know that I'm crossing over between DC and Marvel, but when you start getting into these fringe characters, I totally lose interest in them. And I think that's also something you talk about the loss of these films not doing so well, or Blue Beetle not doing so well, or Flash not doing so well. I think Flash had a number of reasons why, but Blue Beetle, like, once again, tell me why I should care. It just looked like generic superhero movie. I had no idea that it was tied to Marvel or DC at all. It just kind of looked like a film with a guy.
It's the first Latino superhero in the DCEU.
Oh,
Obviously that's important.
As somebody who doesn't care about that stuff, like I don't. Maybe I'm just totally wrong.
Batman is a fascist, though. So
right. Maybe like I don't know. I've. This just goes into personal philosophy, but I just live by this philosophy of like, if something's entertaining, I'll watch it. I don't really care what color you are. That's just me, but that matters to a lot of people, I guess.
Does it?
And maybe
does it really?
I don't know. Okay, so let me. I saw this. Okay, I saw this study a couple years ago, and I don't have the study in front of me, but it more or less said like how you as a person, your culture, how does it identify with you, or how important is it to you, right? And it was like, Mexican, Black, go down the spectrum of nationalities and heritage and all this stuff. And then it went to like white, and like, whereas like Mexican Americans or African Americans, or their heritage was like 87% said this was very important to me. 75%. When it came to like the white guys, it was like, like 12%. So
yeah, whatever.
Right. It was like, so, and I realized that was just one study that I saw. So, when I look at this stuff, it doesn't matter to me. Now, to the Mexican American, does it matter to them? I don't know. I'm not them. So I can't necessarily speak on that, but I just know, to me, it doesn't really matter. But it also didn't really matter to a lot of people because it would have been a way more successful movie. But that's just my thought. That's my thoughts.
Right. I want to read a comment from over on our Rumble discussion from Mr. JC Chappie. He says DC wanted their own Mexican Iron Man, but we already have one. Hi, Mike.
And speaking of Mike, so Mike, as an admitted rehabilitating Snyder bro on the panel,
the correct term would be recovering Snyderholic.
Okay, recovering Snyderholic on the panel. You were big on the Snyder DC films, so I wanted to get your take on this. Do you think it's the right move to just erase basically years worth of like continuity building and stuff like that? Because we had an interview with David Goyer, who had written Man of Steel and stuff like that, and he talked about the chaos at Warner's behind trying to catch up with Marvel in terms of creating a DC or like a DC cinematic universe, and basically he kind of criticized the fact that like they did everything wrong, but Snyder was there and he was like, well, this is the best I can do. Let's bring all these characters together and then split them off into their own independent movies, and that worked for like Wonder Woman and Aquaman to an extent. But overall, it seems to have been like a failed strategy. So what's your take on basically wiping all this stuff out, recasting some very important characters, and moving forward with a new vision that's very different from what Snyder had in mind?
Well, I got a lot of reactions. First of all, my faith in James Gunn is, I don't know, kind of misplaced, because I think if you're going to do, first of all, I'm a DC guy. My name might be Mexican Iron Man, but I grew up on DC Comics and heavy DC Comics. And I have been way more into DC movies for decades than I've ever been into the Marvel movies, though I did get sucked in. So I am used to, the first thing I'll say is I'm used to Warner Brothers completely and totally mismanaging all of its superheroes. It's been trained, like they just don't know what they're doing. They never know what they're doing, and they're never going to get it right. So I don't have a lot of faith in James Gunn, because I think what needs to happen is he needs to play to win and not play not to lose. And I think some of these character treatments, whether they're TV shows or the movies that he wants to make, they're just easily safe. They're not. What he needs to do is draw a hard line in the sand and reset the whole mother effer thing. Now, as a Snyder guy, I'm okay. I had my time in the sun. And people that say that Snyder reviews of those movies aren't real, I say wrong, because I myself did about 70 of them. So I know all 70 of them were real. That was a joke. Vader. Did you get Matt Vader? Did you get that joke? Get it?
Probably not. I know.
Okay. Anyways, so look, James Gunn needs to get rid of people like me, because we were absolutely rabid dogs for Zack Snyder, and I know we were. We were absolutely we were the worst fans, and I was the worst fan. I mean, I know I was. I get up on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. for Snyder Talk, where he'd be in his home cinema and share his insights of his own cuts. I mean, that's how whacked out I was. And so I think he needs to draw a hard line in the sand. James Gunn needs to draw a hard line in the sand. The Snyder time has come. The Snyder time has gone, but it needs to be a hard line. I think he just needs to reset everything and play to win and not to lose. And by that, I mean, you got to give us the Trinity. You got to give us Wonder Woman. You got to give us Superman, and you got to give us a new Batman. And the more you dance around anything that is not that, then you've got a problem. And in particular, the last thing I'll say is that what this country and this world needs is the same feeling that when that first Superman movie came out in whatever it was, 1978 or 80 or what, I don't even remember what year it was, because I was barely walking at the time. But I'm just saying, we need that optimistic, hopeful Superman. We need a hero. We don't need to see our heroes beat up or laughed at or, Last Jedi. We need truth, justice, in the American way, and we need something that will galvanize us behind a hero that we can all celebrate and be happy about, and not worry about what the treatment's going to be about their character, their character's integrity or legacy.
Very well said. Now, Matt Vader 74, Craig mentioned something about how he's not familiar with a lot of these DC characters, and beyond Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, most people, most normies, don't know anything about the roster of DC heroes. And when Blue Beetle was coming out, you were very vocal and like, who the hell is Blue Beetle?
Is this guy?
Yeah. So and James Gunn's whole plan is to launch his version of the DCU with an animated series called Creature Commandos with even more characters that we have no ideas about. So, what's your take on his strategy here?
I think James Gunn has the ability to take unknown characters and make them fun, like John Cena's dude. Yeah. Peacemaker. I never heard of Peacemaker before that Suicide Squad movie came out. And then he got his own television show, his own series. And, you know, that's one of my favorite series that we've watched in the last couple of years. You know, I think James Gunn is going to do what James Gunn wants to do. And it's very strange because, you know, he basically erased everything that's come before it. You know, the few things that he's keeping are things that he was directly involved in, except for the Blue Beetle. But I think he was mandated probably. But for that one, maybe
his producing partner was involved.
Yeah. So there you go. But you know, the other two things he's keeping, John Cena and Amanda Waller, are his. They're from his movies. So anything that's touched James Gunn, he's like, nope, out. And anything that's come before that, it's weird because he got like I'm stuttering, I'm glitching. The whole thing that Star Wars did. It's like, we're just gonna take that EU and just get rid of it. You know, and he's probably going to go in there. He's probably going to cherry pick it and stuff like they do. But I don't have a huge issue with him doing it as much as I did with Star Wars. Star Wars and the DC universe are completely different things. You know, the DC has the advantage of it being from a comic book company. Comic books have always done that. They build up all these things. They end up getting all these stories and these characters and everything. And then after a while, it gets too convoluted. So they have this big thing where they get everybody together, kill most of them, and start over again. You know, it's happened under DC. It's happened in Marvel. It's happened all over the place. You know, I mean, that's what they do. These superhero worlds get too big, too populated. And so they have to narrow them down a little bit. And that's basically that's how I see this. You know, it's like, Crisis on Infinite Earths, you know, the Beyonder Wars or whatever those were called, you know, that kind of stuff. So James Gunn is just starting over. It's just another chapter in the DC cinema world. And you know, 30 years from now, the new big guy is going to come in and make a new Marvel universe or a new DC universe or whatever the thing is. You know, it's just one of those things. So I hope he's good. I hope they're fun. You know, and like you said, outside the big three, I don't know hardly anything about the DC world other than what I saw on Super Friends in 1974 when I was 4 or 5 years old watching those cartoons. So I don't think we're going to get an Apache Chief movie anytime soon, or a Wonder Twins movie. So you know, I know that would be awesome though. By the way, right? So you know, form of ice bucket.
Well, I know that a lot of the criticism that's been levied at James Gunn lately has been, he's only keeping the stuff that's going to keep his wife employed because she played the assassin and Peacemaker.
Nepotism works, man.
And she's also appeared in Black Adam and Shazam as well. So it's kind of
not keeping Black Adam though. So
hey, directors got to keep banging and smashing and got to keep her happy, bro. That's the way it works.
Matt, you said something. You said something that resonated with me as a guy who watched wrestling growing up. You said you talked about it being watered down, these universes being watered down, and that's kind of how I feel. Right? Remember when the NWO launched and it was just Hall, Nash, and Hogan, and it was like these guys are awesome. Yeah. And then by the time it was done, they had Horace Hogan, the Steiner brothers. They had 67 members.
Red, white, Latino.
Right.
And I don't know what else. There was like 4 different NWO factions. And
and it
literally everybody on the roster was wearing some kind of NWO shirt. It was bad.
Right. 100%. And specifically with like the original brand, it was originally just those 3. And then every week it's like, and it almost is like an eye roll. It's like, oh my gosh. And that's kind of how these universes feel to me as an outsider. So
agreed.
Very well said. And We've got a hater bucks from William Forbus for 10 hater bucks. Just wanted to highlight a non-member chat from GoofR35 asking, who has the worst continuity now? DCU, DCEU, MCU, or Disney Star Wars? Love the question and would like y'all's opinion on it. I actually think Star Wars has the worst continuity right now, personally. What do you guys think?
I'm going to go with the AEW. I think they have
Star
the worst
Wars
continuity right now.
for sure. Star Wars is so bad right now.
I've never
Craig?
watched wrestling because I don't think it's a real sport, so I have no idea. But I'll go with Star Wars.
It's sports entertainment, Mike. You got to
Whatever.
Get it
I'm with Ryan Cannell.
Yeah, I think they're all it's interesting to see what Star Wars is doing. As somebody who's not a Star Wars fan, but has seen all the mainline movies, I just feel like what they're doing right now is just trying to throw as much as they possibly can against the wall and see what sticks. You know, like The Mandalorian was really good for 2 seasons, and then blah. Now they got Ahsoka, but they've had 17 other different Star Wars spinoffs, and it's like, well, we're gonna see, something's gonna work. Something's gonna bring these people back, right? And I think that's the biggest thing with Star Wars is they have absolutely fractured their fan base, and I don't know if there's any way to recover from that. So to answer your question, I think Marvel and DC will be just fine. I don't know if Star Wars will be.
Yeah, so panels in agreement. Star Wars has the worst continuity. And 10 more hater bucks from William Forbus. It's all right, Vader. I agree. I would love a live-action Wonder Twins movie or maybe a miniseries on Max. It's goofy, sure, but a lot of fun. I'd really like to have Space Ghost Coast to Coast come back. I think that was a fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yes. And it looks like our chat is too full of lovers instead of haters because we aren't getting a whole lot of hater bucks right now. I just want to remind everyone watching that our goal is to bring Matt Vader on the podcast full time so he can quit his terrible job here in Las Vegas and just make content for y'all, showing off his feet and making y'all laugh, going on drunken rants every Monday. So that would be fantastic if you guys could.
He doesn't want to work at Thunder Down Under anymore, dude.
Exactly.
He's tired of it.
Exactly. It's, the dancing's too strenuous. You can't keep up
too
with
much.
it anymore. Too much.
Oh my God, we just got our first chat from a person, a real person in the kick.com channel. That's
nice.
So yeah, let's get some members
What's
over on Kick.
kick.com?
It's the new Twitch.
I'll
I'll tell you later.
Yeah. So guys, since we all bashed on Star Wars just a moment ago, let's talk about the latest episode of Ahsoka, episode 7, the penultimate episode of the series. And many people are really bashing this one, more so than some of the other ones that came before it. So I wanted to get everyone's take. Craig, I know that you probably don't watch this show, so that's okay. We'll probably get your opinion on Star Wars in general in a little bit. But I want to start with Matt Vader 74, who's actually watched the cartoons, and so he's got some background in what's going on in Ahsoka with Thrawn and all this other stuff. What was your take on this episode with the return of Ezra and and Ahsoka finally making her space whale journey to the planet and all that?
I don't have a ton to say about this show. I'm every week I get more and more checked out. I just would say that I thought I thought it interesting that the snail people could have a higher speed chase than the Vespa runners in
Book of
Boba Fett. Yeah, that was interesting. This episode was just more of the same. Poorly choreographed fights and slow dialogue and Baylan Skull going down a road of weird mysticism that you have to cut so deep into Star Wars lore to understand anything that is going on with all this Force stuff, and that it's just too much. It's too hocus pocus. It's too crazy. I had to watch 3 or 4 different videos this week about Dave Filoni and his nonsense stuff, diving into Force powers and history and thousands of years ago, the Wajamahoojits did this and this person went there, and I'm like, no, I don't need all that shit. And it's just keep the story simple, which they are doing, but for that one storyline, man, it's too much. It's too much. I've pretty much lost interest in watching this show. I'm glad there's only one more at this point. You know, we were all complaining that it's only 8 episodes long, but now I'm glad. I'm glad it's only 8 episodes long, because that means we're going to be put out of our misery here fairly soon, one more week. So, and it's just, you know, the whole thing, they're just cherry picking stuff out of the Thrawn books, out of the Timothy Zahn books, and it's sad. I'm more sad now when I watch Star Wars than anything. I'm certainly not happy or excited or glad. I want it over. I want them to put Star Wars away for a good 10 years, and you know, maybe I'll get to watch another Star Wars movie before I die someday. I hope, but they're not going to do that. They're just going to drive it into the ground. It's going to be just one thing after another, one poor thing after another. So,
yeah, we're going to talk about those Star Wars movies later on in the show. But Brian from the Popcast, I wanted to ask you this. So we all know that Ray Parker unfortunately passed away, the guy who plays Baylan Skull. And it doesn't look like they're going to actually explain anything about who this character is, what his motivations are, or anything like that before the end of this season. And I'm a little bit concerned because we had another confrontation between Skull and Ahsoka in this episode. And, you know, Ahsoka is someone who has gone toe-to-toe with Darth Vader. She was trained by Anakin Skywalker. She is no slouch when it comes to, you know, being a warrior, as we've seen. And Skull's just like, oh, you can't defeat me. I'm that good. And then, like, she escapes from him, and he's just like, okay, I guess I'll go fuck off now. And it was very kind of like, it was a very anticlimactic kind of like setup for the finale. So I'm wondering, do you think any of this is going to pay off in the next episode?
No. No. I mean, we've seen this before in other Star Wars shows. I don't think there's going to be very much payoff. It's probably going to be some big tease for some season 2 that probably never happens.
or a movie.
Or a movie.
That's never going to happen.
That will also never happen. It'll be announced. It'll be announced for like 12 years and never actually happen.
Well, it has been said that that Ahsoka is basically a setup for Dave Filoni's planned Mandoverse movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe, I don't know.
Do you have anything else to say about episode 7?
I guess they got the gang back together. That was important. I don't know. It was just so boring. Everything's so boring and a lot of cringe. I like what Craig said. Like, you can equate it to WWE, where it's like, ooh,
yeah.
And the more you watch, the more it's like, ooh.
Ahsoka did give Ezra a really nice hug. Way better hug than what Sabine gave him in the prior episode.
I don't know. I do sort of like that Ezra character though.
Space Jesus?
A little bit. I do sort of like him.
Yeah.
The guy who says the Force is my ally, I don't need a lightsaber, and then immediately grabs a blaster.
Well, that was after he pushed some people around a little bit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's great. I'm just saying I sort of like him. Yeah.
So Mexican Iron Man, there's been a big to-do here about Filoni being the savior of Star Wars. He's going to be the guy to right the ship. And just this week, it came out that there were pictures of his wife on Instagram or something like that, basically trolling the fan base, being a complete social justice warrior, being woke, all this other stuff. And a lot of people are pointing to this and being like, how can Filoni be the one that rights the ship when he's just towing the woke line over at Lucasfilm, giving everything to female characters, basically making Thrawn an idiot. A lot of people pointed out if the Night Sisters could pinpoint where Ahsoka was based off of her being a Jedi, why couldn't they do the same with Ezra at any point in time? So there's a lot of stuff in here where it's basically clear that Filoni's not the guy to right the ship. What do you think of all this?
I think that there's no way Filoni is the guy to right the ship. He is a beta-ass biatch. Always has been, always will be.
Mm-hmm.
As we like to say in the South, he's all hat and no Star Wars cattle. this series, which as I reported last week on the show, I'm being forced to watch by my overlord Doomcock for his Wednesday show. Otherwise, I wouldn't be watching this at all.
Or he'll make you fuck a burrito, right?
Basically,
What?
I'm being forced to watch it for his Wednesday show, and I got to tell you, it's so comical to watch this show. I cannot believe the amount of money they're spending on it. This last episode, I didn't see Rebels. I saw all of Clone Wars twice, and I've never cared so little about Star Wars before. And I think here's the problem for me. I mentioned this a little bit last Saturday, and it even more drove home this week. I don't understand how I can watch something like One Piece that I don't know. I hate anime. I hate manga. I don't know anything about One Piece. And I got sucked into that episode, that series, such that I actually started rewatching that live action this past week. I actually rewatched 2 of the episodes 1 and 2. Yet then I look at Star Wars where, look, I don't know if I'm a subject matter expert, but I was one of the guys that helped Coach and Nick get Echo Base Network started. And I'm a longtime Star Wars fan, lightsabers collector, blah, 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 blah. Many a convention in my repertoire, and I don't care, and I'm bored. And there's been more action in say 1 or 2 episodes of One Piece than I've seen in all of this Ahsoka crap. I don't know what people are watching that makes them think that this show is anywhere near good, and I don't know where the delusion is coming from that Filoni is some kind of savior of Star Wars. No, he's not. He is a beta ass biatch, talentless hack that has no idea what I'm doing. And when I watch this episode, I imagine that he's sitting there like at home playing in the dirt and just making his own stories up without rhyme, reason, or care of any of the legacy of what's come before. I am not the kind of guy that in life, there's some people in life that like yearn for like the good old days and member berries. I'm not like that. We need to move forward. Just like we talked about James Gunn a second ago. You know who the savior is going to be? Someone who's playing a win with Star Wars. Can we get some wars happening in Star Wars and not some like, lightsaber goes through, she lives, some flipping around, cartwheels in outer space. I mean, the show is just so freaking ridiculous. Nothing makes sense to me, and I don't know why I should care. And Dave Filoni is absolutely the worst person to have been given money in order to spend on giving us Star Wars content.
Well, I can't believe Dave Filoni would let his. I mean, I'm not saying people can control people, but if my wife went on Twitter with a cup that said "Drink coffee, hail Satan," while wearing a shirt that said, let me see, what is it? It says, "Abortion is healthcare."
Yeah,
we would be having some words. You know what I'm saying? We would be having some words. And especially somebody like Dave Filoni, who is, let's face it, he's one of the major faces of this franchise right now. That there has been no known repercussions from that, or if Kathleen Kennedy should have yanked him into her office and had a little sit down. You know what I'm saying? Control your woman. Basically what he should have been told. And I'm sorry if that sounds sexist or something, but what is she doing? What is she thinking? She like trying to is she just pandering? She's not helping the Star Wars cause at all. So it's wild. It's wild to me that she's basically just, cutting off her nose to spite her face at this point. So whatever.
Also want to point out, so Mike mentioned One Piece. Did you guys know that the actor who plays Roronoa Zoro is Sonny Chiba's son? I thought that was really cool. Yeah, Sonny Chiba, legendary Japanese actor. Before we get to Craig, I just want to throw this back to Brian real quick. So Brian, one of the big Mimba berries for the penultimate episode was C-3PO shows up on behalf of Senator Leia Organa to put the evil male senator in his place. What did you think of this member berry on top of another Anakin sighting?
I honestly, I don't think I saw that part.
You just checked out that much?
Yeah. I actually don't remember C-3PO.
Did you fall asleep?
I must have fallen asleep. Yeah,
Wow.
And to be honest, I have fallen asleep the last 3 episodes. And I do watch them at night, but usually the night before our show here. Yeah, I don't remember that. I'm sorry. I must have fallen asleep. My bad.
It's okay. We aren't very professional here on the Salty Nerd podcast. We don't expect any of our panelists to know what they're talking about. Craig, So one of the big issues with Star Wars has been under Kathleen Kennedy's leadership, they have tried to shift the demographic of the audience away from, men who grew up watching Star Wars and idolizing Luke Skywalker and stuff like that, to women. They basically wanted to shift the demographic because from an ad standpoint, women have a lot more purchasing power than men. They tend to make a lot of the home spending decisions and stuff like that. And plus feminism, they just want more representation on the screen. They want to empower more women. And so her focus ever since she took over Lucasfilm has been to try to shift the demographic fan base of Star Wars to a more female-centric demographic. The only problem with that is that women, just in general, don't tend to like science fiction or action or anything like that. And so they might have moved the needle a little bit with characters like Rey and more emphasis on strong female characters and stuff like that. But what they've done is basically alienate their core demographic of men, of a certain age who have the money to spend on toys and collectibles and books and ancillary stuff. And we've seen a decline in, the licensing value of Star Wars because of it. And so I want to get your take on this strategy and why it is the completely wrong strategy and why they refuse to give it up.
Well, I mean, I think you just simply look at what's working. I mean, hey, you have something successful, so let's just change it entirely, right? You've seen this all happen many times in history, but I think Star Wars may be the cherry on top of the cake when it comes to the horrible business decisions associated with that. It's fascinating to see, I'm all like, you want to put women in your shows, that's fine. You want to put, this ethnicity, do it. Great. Awesome. It goes back to what I said earlier. I don't think people will care as long as it's good, right? As long as it's entertaining, as long as it's fun, and I totally agree with Mike. I'm not one for nostalgia. I think nostalgia is fun. It's a powerful drug. But when you say, hey, we're going to shift entirely from something that you paid $4 billion to acquire, right? Something clearly was working, but let's just go and change it now because we have it. Maybe it's for the greater good. I don't know what their thought process is, but this definitely seems to be short-sighted. And I think you're seeing the ramifications of that now. You see people will point to, like Rise of the Skywalker. I'm looking at the box office worldwide. That did $1 billion. It's like, awesome. That's great. In 1977, A New Hope did $775 million, right? Like, adjust that for inflation. It's like, come on, what are we even doing here? I think ultimately with a situation like Star Wars, where you have this fractured fan base, there's going to need to be a new Star Wars. And I say new Star Wars, I don't mean like a new addition to the franchise. I mean, someone's going to have to go out and make Star Wars in the way that they envision it. And it can be inspired by Star Wars. That's fine. You can have laser swords, you can have your space shoot, you can have your whatever, and do it however you want. You can have some mythical Force-like thing, magic. But I think at this point, those who are upset about Star Wars, it goes back to something my grandpa used to say. He used to say, shit or get off the pot, right? Like, you either need to poop or you need to move on, right? and that's really what this comes down to, right? People, you got to act on something. So what that looks like, I don't know. I mean, making a new Star Wars is an incredibly daunting task, because ultimately what you're doing, even if you're trying to do that, you're going to fail. If you say, I'm trying to make the next Star Wars, because then you are setting yourself up for failure, because you're asking the Star Wars fans to embrace something. And it goes back to nostalgia once again. The idea that the reason why Star Wars is so divided now is Star Wars has meant so much to so many people for so long that no matter what you do with Star Wars, it will never be done right to them. It'll never be done right to the 40-year-old guy. It'll never be done right to the 20-year-old girl who grew up with Star Wars. From there on out, it will always be wrong. And that's what happens when you have a property that's been around for 50 years now.
Yeah. Look at Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. Some fans on YouTube, on Reddit, were talking about how it looks very similar to Star Wars, and they got downvoted to hell, and hundreds of comments like, no, it's nothing like Star Wars, nothing like Star Wars. Stop it.
Well, it was based off of his failed Star Wars pitch.
Yeah,
Right, it is right.
So of course it's going to resemble Star Wars. I hope it's great.
It's also a ripoff of the Seven Samurai and Battle Beyond the Stars.
And Star Wars is
exact same thing.
influenced and ripped off all kinds of things that came before it too.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I'm hoping that's great.
Who gives
But
a
like,
shit?
I know, no issue. But the fans that didn't want to associate it with that because of where Star Wars is right now. In the past, when Star Wars is gonna get in a good place, they're like, oh, this can scratch your Star Wars itch. But now no one wants to associate it with Star Wars.
All I want new IPs that are good. That's why I'm looking forward to this Creator movie that's out this weekend. I'm really looking forward to seeing that this weekend.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm looking forward to Rebel Moon. Even things like One Piece and stuff like we mentioned earlier. These are all new IPs. I know One Piece isn't new; it's been around a long time, but it's new in the sense that it's getting a mainstream audience now on Netflix. I'm not going to watch a cartoon that has 500,000 episodes. I'm just not. That's why I don't like Japanese animation, because I tried it with the Naruto stuff. You get 5 minutes of story, you get 10 minutes of rehash, and you get 3 minutes of what's coming next. That's your typical anime show. It's like, oh my god, and they last for 1,000 episodes. I don't have that much time to dedicate to a show. So when something comes along like One Piece, it's nice, it's fun. We can watch it new. It's a new experience for me. It's done well. It's put together well. It's hype. It's well praised. So yeah, I'm not done with it yet. I'm only halfway through it, but I've enjoyed every single episode I've seen. So, give us stuff that's new and stuff that's quality. Stuff that's not laced with your bullshit propaganda and your nonsense. Just make it fun. Give us interesting stories. That's all we want. So
Interesting stories, right?
yeah.
All right. We got 20 hater bucks from William Forbus. No feet, Mr. Kadish. How dare you? Always got to make it weird with the feet stuff.
I know.
Hey, it's not me making it weird. It's the chat. F for feet in the chat. And another $10, or I should say 10 hater bucks from William Forbus. Ahsoka is just pissing me off. The Balin character is more intriguing, maybe because of Rey, than every other character. I was going to stop, but kept on for the Saturday Salty Nerd podcast review. Well, you feel free to stop anytime you want. There's only one more episode left, though, so I'm not quite sure if that is necessary at this point. But also, Sidescrollers, feet. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that.
You got it.
Just want to give everyone a quick reminder that we are simulcasting to a bunch of different places. We're on the live stream is going to Facebook right now. So if you're not a member of our fan page over on Facebook, be sure to do so. We're also on Twitch. We're on Twitter, or I should say Twix. We're on Odyssey and Kick and Rumble. And speaking of Rumble, let's get to our main topic of today, which is Rumble sucks, supposedly. And this kind of debate was set up by a little online exchange over at Twix from Shadiversity. And he was responding to a video that The Quartering made. And it was actually pretty interesting because basically The Quartering said you guys need to prepare yourself for YouTube censorship by supporting alt tech platforms. And he made a little video kind of showcasing how easy it is to mirror your YouTube content to BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. And he's basically been on Twix kind of encouraging bigger creators to start adopting alt tech platforms and moving some of their audience over there, because basically YouTube censorship is getting worse. The whole demonetization thing is getting worse. And going into an election year, you just know it's going to be bad. But YouTube recently came out and basically said that you can now talk about stuff like sexual assault and abortion without worrying about getting demonetized. Because they basically said, like, okay, so if you want to talk about these topics, we're not going to hit you with demonetization because we're moving those to an advertiser-friendly type subject matter. But there's still a lot of stuff you can't talk about on YouTube, and you never know when they're retroactively going to start changing things. And Shadiversity made a very, very detailed and excellent response to the Quartering's call for action over on his Night's Watch podcast channel. And basically, he was just very transparent. He showed in detail like the stats that their channels get, and he showed on Rumble like the breakdown of like fake views that Rumble reports versus actual views that can actually be monetized that are kind of equivalent to YouTube views. And they just broke it down in a very methodical, very smart way, I thought. For those of you who want to check out that video, it is linked in the description of this live stream. And not only were they just completely upfront and honest about kind of the views they get and how much money they're making off of this stuff, but they also talked about the pitfalls of big creators moving over to an alt tech platform that just isn't quite there in terms of like its audience or its discoverability and stuff like that. And I thought that that was a very interesting thing, because when you have someone like the Quartering, who he's kind of like, he's on the upper end of YouTube, right? Like he's been on the Tim Pool show. He posts like 4 or 5 times a day, every day. He gets like really good views, so he's getting lots of ad revenue, but he's also got his coffee brand coffee thing that he pitches. So he's got, you know, like income coming in outside of YouTube revenue. And so when he's on all these different content platforms, not only is he getting favorability treatment over on Rumble, but he's able to monetize the audience outside of ad views. So it's worth it to him to go out to these platforms and kind of like spread his message. Whereas someone like Shadiversity, who's very dependent on YouTube ad views and stuff like that, it doesn't make business sense. And so, you know, Craig, I've had some conversations with you in the past about, you know, the benefit of going over to Rumble, and you actually know some of the people over at Rumble. And I've been very kind of open about my complaints in terms of like how Rumble is currently running things. And Odin had a thread about this topic that I kind of jumped into over on Twix. And if you guys want to find that, I think we linked to it as well in the description. But my biggest issue with Rumble is that, number one, they play favorites. So the human curation is very much in favor of, you know, people like Steven Crowder, like the big YouTubers and stuff like that. It's very hard to get discoverability on Rumble. There are people who've been on Rumble for years and still get like 50 views per video when they're getting tens of thousands of views over on YouTube. Rumble has made strides in monetizing stuff, but unless you're in the in crowd, if you're in the right click, you don't get any views on Rumble. Like even now, like we've been live streaming to Rumble for, you know, most of this year. We've been mirroring our content over to Rumble, and it's an uphill battle to not only get discovered over there, but also to get like any type of significant traction on the alt tech platform. And as Shadiversity said, if you really want to adopt an alt tech platform, I think everyone can agree that it's important to do that and diversify your business. But at the same time, it's like if you're splitting your audience and you're taking views away from YouTube, which is where the bulk of your income comes from, does it actually make sense to focus on Rumble and get people over to a less desirable platform? Because the user experience on Rumble isn't as good. You know, they have a hardcore free speech audience over there, but it's so heavily skewed towards the political end of things that entertainment channels, video game channels, stuff like that, they struggle to find an audience over there. Yep. So I wanted to get your take on this, Craig, because you do have some insider baseball knowledge on this. Is Rumble worth the time and effort of most creators who aren't on the Quartering's level?
Okay, so there's a lot there, and honestly, everything you said is right. I'm a big champion of Rumble, right? And as far as the idea of discoverability on Rumble, I think people need to put Rumble in perspective, right? When you look back on where YouTube was really 2 years into what YouTube was doing, they were far behind what Rumble is at right now. Now, that's not fair to YouTube and it's not fair to Rumble, because Rumble is playing in 2023 and we're talking about 2010, 2011 YouTube, right? After they launched their partner program. So Rumble has an uphill fight. They have to make up about a decade's worth of infrastructure to get it to the point where you can hang with YouTube. Now, I think they're moving at an accelerated pace, and I'll say this: as far as discoverability goes, the one thing that YouTube has, and well, there are many things YouTube has that Rumble doesn't have, but when Rumble becomes a place where you can find how to change your oil in the car, how to fix this in your house, how to do that, right? Do this around the house. When it becomes a destination where you can just search for a video, that's when Rumble starts to take the next step, right? That's when Rumble becomes an actual platform for people to use, because it's not about discoverability. I think that if you were to go to Rumble and search for somebody, I think you can find them, right? But I don't think people are doing that right now. Like the idea of the instantaneous algorithm push discovery. Hey, hey, viewer of YouTube, that you may enjoy this video. Rumble doesn't have that right now. And obviously Rumble's big stance is free speech, right? And who's going to be a big champion of free speech? Those who've been silenced on YouTube, right? So naturally, the perception attached to Rumble is, well, it's just a bunch of people who are conspiracy theorists or right-wing wackos or anti-government this, right? And that was, you kind of go to prom with who invited you, I guess, for a lot of these folks with Rumble. So, they have to beat that reputation first and foremost. I think that, from the people that I speak with, specifically Rick, who is their head of product, they have a roadmap, right? And Rumble was way behind. Rick's only been with the company since February, and Rick Rinsella is his name, and he's very open about what they're doing. But I'll say this right now: Rumble is creator friendly. It's not necessarily viewer friendly, if that makes sense. I think that there are a lot of tools that allow a creator to be successful on Rumble. But I think all of the criticisms that were made in that video and all the things that you spoke about are 100% valid. And I think that Rumble is the best alternative right now to YouTube, but it does have a lot of steps to take before it even gets on the same playing field. That's not even to say they're like, if YouTube is the Golden State Warriors, the Rumble is the Plano JV basketball team. You know what I mean? It's not even close, right? But it's going to take time, and I think that investing in that in the platform now could pay dividends long term. Now, I also think it's very easy for Jeremy to say, "Hey, come to Rumble." Because he gladly will stream over there because he's being paid to stream there, right? It's a no risk. It's a very low risk proposition for him to say, come to Rumble. He's been championing alt tech for a long time, but nobody goes to Odyssey to watch videos. Nobody goes to Library to watch videos, right?
Nobody.
Right, exactly. Nothing of value is gained from like I'm on like I have so many platforms that are content. I don't even know where they're at. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll put it over there.
We're on everything too. We mirror on everything, and the only thing that gets views is YouTube.
Because people are on it, and once again, it's owned by Google. Google is the number one search engine in the world. YouTube is the number one video search engine in the world. Right. It's the number two search engine in the world, and so naturally, it's a giant monopoly. Right. So. There's a lot there, but do I think it's worth it? Yes. I think that you need to play the long game with Rumble, and it's not going to happen over 3 months. It's not going to happen over a year. It's going to happen over 5 years or 10 years. And that's kind of my thoughts on that.
Then I have a question I want to ask you guys. So you're talking about how Rumble doesn't have any discoverability. I need somebody to explain to me what that means, because I just went to Rumble. I wasn't logged in. I went on my phone. I typed in Salty Nerd. That's all I typed, Salty Nerd, and boom, we came right up. It was the first one on top of the list.
Yeah,
and
if you type in exactly what your channel is, you'll find yourself.
So
let me answer your question, Matt. So basically, what discoverability means is YouTube has an AI that creates profiles for every viewer on YouTube that predicts the type of videos that they're going to want to watch. And 75% of all video views on YouTube come from the recommendation algorithm.
Okay.
So search actually accounts for something like 10 to 20% of all video views on YouTube. So when you go to Rumble, they don't have an AI that's cherry picking videos and recommending for you to watch next, or related videos and stuff like that. They have human curators who basically lump channels into categories that you'll see on the webpage. And if you're not part of the selected group,
Okay.
no one who doesn't already know about you is going to be able to find you.
Right.
And that's one of YouTube's big advantages, is like, you can't get millions of views just based off of the people who already know you. You get millions of views on a video when people are recommended your video and discover you and check you out and then become fans over the long term. So the idea here is that Rumble doesn't have that advanced AI, the advanced algorithms that YouTube has developed over the years in order to get your content out in front of new people who come to the platform. But I want to throw this to Brian, because Brian, you yourself, you guys had an excellent live streaming channel, Podcast Unleashed, where you guys did everything right, and then YouTube just blanketly demonetized your entire channel for some BS reason. And what we see a lot with Rumble is we see YouTube refugees, where people who have been banned or demonetized on YouTube moving over there as a backup, essentially, to be able to monetize their content. We saw it with Steven Crowder. We're seeing it with Russell Brand. We've seen it with lots of people who basically, like, if they talk about stuff that's outside of YouTube's advertiser-friendly guidelines, even though like there's completely nothing wrong with it, they have to go to an alt tech platform in order to talk about it freely. Otherwise, they run the risk of getting their entire channel demonetized. They run the risk of getting their channel banned and taken down or deleted by YouTube overlords and stuff like that. So you have a very vested interest in trying to find a good alternative in order to monetize your stuff. And Rumble has been known, like, their strongest feature currently is live streaming over there. But there's also this issue of, are the views real, right? Because there, as Shadiversity broke down his video, there's the raw views, which is basically an impression. And then there's, real views, and then there's monetized views. And it's very different over there. When you get into the real numbers, the audience just isn't there for Rumble. So what's your take on this?
Man, I really appreciate Shad making that video, because I've been frustrated with Rumble for a long time. First off, even from the user perspective, like when I watch Crowder, okay, I'm part of Crowder's mug club. I got 6 of these mugs. I'm not sure why he sent me so many. But the interface sucks. Like, it's really bad. First off, you can't even rewind the live stream without tapping that thing like 15 times. Pausing it's a pain in the butt. And then it has this weird latency issue where if you're watching on mobile, it will randomly just buffer. No reason. I could be on the fastest Wi-Fi on the internet. I have 1,000 gigs. I have 1,000 megs down here. And there's no reason why I should be buffering for anything, any reason. But yet I'll be buffering. It'll just stop forever. This is specifically on mobile. And it makes me go, you know what? I'm just going to go to YouTube and watch the stream. I don't even want to utilize my mug club, because it's easier to watch it on YouTube. And switching over back to local, like they use Locals for their memberships. Locals is, I'm sure it's a fine company. I don't know anything about it, but their video player sucks. It just sucks. That's the user side. Now on the creative side, everything Shad said was completely correct. Yes, you can type in Shadiversity and find Shad. Sure, you can type in the Podcast Unleashed, you'll find us. You can type in the Podcast Prime, you'll find us. You'll also find like our main user channel, which is weird to me. I'm not sure why you have a user channel, then like 2 separate channels, and no one knows which one to follow. People have literally messaged me and asked, which one do I follow? And I'm like, you know what, to be safe, just follow all of them. Because I don't know. Do you follow the main user or do you follow the goddamn channels? I don't even know.
Right.
Well, so on that same note, the creator experience is sort of garbage. First off, when you mirror your content, if you just mirror it straight up, it takes sometimes weeks to upload. So I have found myself going, well, I need to go in there and upload this video specifically to Rumble so that it comes out at the same time as YouTube, so it has the same chance of getting views, because I want to be fair here. So I got to upload it to Rumble. The upload process takes a lot longer. When you finally get to that area, the thumbnail the upload process is janky as hell. And then you finally get in there and you have no idea how long it's going to take to process. Like YouTube tells you specifically how long it's going to take. So it's very difficult to time your content correctly. And then what happens is, because you have mirroring active, like a week later, the same video will pop up because it comes from YouTube or whatever, and you have to go in there and delete it. Now, so that's the creative process. The creative process sucks. On the same note, you don't get views, because I have never seen, and I have logged into I've made multiple accounts. I've logged into multiple accounts. I've browsed for hours. One day I exclusively used Rumble. I told myself I will only use Rumble today, and I'm a massive YouTube. I use YouTube for everything. I was like, today I'm not going to use any YouTube. I'm going to only use Rumble for all my entertainment and news. Boy, first off, 99% of Rumble is just politics. Like, it's politics. So I'm like searching for Star Trek, and I'm searching for Stargate, like entertainment news, right? Stuff that I would watch, stuff that would be where our work would be reflected. And I'm trying to like get the system to recognize me as a customer. In the entire day, from like 8 a.m. to like 3 in the morning. And I think I burned through every janky, crappy live stream guy where it's super dark in the room, and he's like, "Oh yeah, talking about this Star Trek thing." And I mean, really,
Hey,
like
leave Jeremy alone. No, I'm just
listen,
kidding.
people that really they don't really know anything about how this works. They don't know how to speak, and I'm not throwing shade. I don't know how to speak. I have a speech impediment, but I still try to, have the most well-produced as I can afford streams. And I burned through all that for almost 20 hours. I watched nothing but non-political stuff on YouTube, and it was just so bad. Never once, not once, came across one of my 900 videos and streams that are on YouTube. I have over 900 videos and streams on Rumble that came from YouTube. I never once in 20 hours came across a single video. I have 25 million views on Stargate content on YouTube. I have 300 on Rumble. 300. So listen, I'm a champion Rumble, but for the love of God, like, their system sucks. Having humans curate your product, and only humans that care about right-wing politics, makes no sense. There's got to be some kind of basic system in place to allow users to find you. And like, I'll keep mirroring, but I find myself, when we have these big video releases, like when we have the Voyager doc coming up, I don't know if I want to go through the process of trying to do like the double premiere, because I'll get 3 views. I'll get 3 views for all the extra work I go through it. And then I'll have to go back and I'll have to curate and stop the mirroring process for the next one. And it's just...
And I would also like to point out on the live stream again, Rumble doesn't offer a permanent stream key. So every time we want to simulcast onto Rumble, we have to go in and change our settings here in StreamYard just for the privilege of streaming on Rumble. And Rumble's the only one that doesn't have a permanent stream key for creators.
That is changing.
So
yeah.
Well, it better change soon, because it's a real pain in the butt. And
it's a pain. It's pain.
A lot of people don't simul stream on Rumble simply because they don't understand how to do that, right? So hopefully it changes soon. But I want to throw this to Mike. So Mike, one of the issues that Rumble faces is like its built-in audience, and the ones that all the big streamers on Rumble or channels on Rumble have built their platform on YouTube. And so like when they move over to Rumble, they have the audience that kind of follows them over there, but the audience doesn't necessarily stay. So like with Crowder's YouTube audience will go over there and watch his stuff. And then as soon as his live stream's over, they'll go back to YouTube. And the one thing that YouTube does really well is it treats the viewer as its main customer. So it's all about the user experience. It's about keeping them on the platform for as long as possible. It's about predicting what they want to watch and showing them videos that'll interest them to keep them on the platform and watching it. But in addition to that, they also have a much broader distribution strategy in the sense that they have an excellent mobile app. 60% of YouTube viewers come from mobile. They have an excellent TV app. I watch most of my YouTube content on TV, on my big screen TV at home.
Same.
I believe like 10% of their views come from that. But they also have different apps and avenues other than desktop that people can consume their content. And when you look at the Roku app for Rumble, it's shit. It is really shit. When you look at the mobile app, it's shit. It's a bad experience. When you go to the website, it's okay, but it's not the best. And so, you know, when you just look at it from a viewer's perspective, there's no value proposition that Rumble offers to attract an audience outside of like political free speech. And so what do you think is the strategy here for Rumble to build an audience outside of that? Because, you know, if you can build an audience solely on Rumble, as opposed to building an audience on a better platform and then porting it over and losing income as you're doing that, you know, it would just make more sense. So what's your take on this? Because you are a financial guy. You are a guy who kind of understands the ins and outs of.
Well, I'm probably simultaneously the best person to ask, or one of the best person to ask this, and one of the worst though, on for two very different reasons. On the one hand, I produce a ton of YouTube channels, including some of the larger ones. I do their tax returns. I do their accounting. I know how much time goes into how shitty ass, little ass money creators make.
Amen to that, brother.
The amount of hours that all y'all spend on this thing. I mean, I have clients in 4 time zones that aren't YouTubers. The YouTube stuff is more like a public service project, frankly, because for the amount of time that people spend doing YouTube or social media and how much money they make, it's about attention and views and about ego. It's not about making real money, because of the amount of hours that YouTube creators spend doing anything else, including waiting tables at restaurants. The average person would make like 100 times more than they ever make on YouTube. So I think making money on any of these platforms is absolutely the most asinine thing I've ever seen in 18 years of doing accounting and tax for any business in any industry around the country and in several other countries. That being said, I'm a huge supporter of a lot of YouTube channels, and I produce a ton of channels for free, and because I love the content that you guys all do. And Rumble, and I'm a huge consumer of social media and online media, and I can say this: Rumble is great for free speech and being able to say whatever you want and listen to somebody else. But let me tell you the only way. This is a real world experience. First of all, Rumble doesn't work at all, ever reliably on any mobile device, not an Android device, and I own one, not an iPhone, not an iPad. The only time it's somewhat reasonably stable is when I'm hardwired in at my house in South Carolina, because Lord knows if I even touch my laptop, the damn thing stutters and giggles. It's absolutely a freaking train wreck. Absolute freaking train wreck. And the only time I go over there is if I want to follow Andrew at Legal Mindset or somebody when they're going to talk questionable stuff. So I can tell you it absolutely sucks, and I don't know why anyone thinks that they're going to go there. And YouTube, frankly, YouTube TV works great. YouTube works great on my mobile phone. It works great on my iPhone. It works great on my iPad, on my mobile devices. And whether I'm on a wired or wireless connection, I don't have any stuttering problems. So I don't know what to say about, YouTube creators going over to Rumble. I saw the video that he put out. I think he's 100% on point. I mean, so I'm going to say this: if any people that are aspiring to be creators in social media, if you're doing it for like fun and you're doing it for attention, well, then go wherever you want, that you want to say whatever you want. But understand this is that YouTube, there's no good answer, because at YouTube, you can't say what you want, because you got to say whatever your overlords want you to say, because they will stop you from making money from anything that is outside the bounds of whatever they want. So don't think that you're going to be on YouTube and make money for being who you are. No, you're going to have to settle down to be YouTube's bitch and sit there and placate to whatever they want. That's it. So you want to be over there making a few pennies. What does AdSense pay YouTube creators? Was it 0.3%?
Well, no, it depends on what tier you're in. But you're right. Even when you don't say whatever you want and you're vanilla as hell and you try to respect everybody's opinion constantly, we still got demonetized, and we've never given any reason for them to think that we were at all, right wing or alt or whatever. We've always been respectful. We've always watched our language. We've always been as cool as possible with everyone, and we were demonetized. So it really just matters who you bother that week, who you bother. And as far as getting paid, obviously our big channel makes way more money than on the Unleashed does, or it did. But also the videos make more money when they're produced. So like we're in a different tier rate. So like we can get as much as $20 CPM. When on Unleashed, we get like $5 or $6 CPM. So live shows make less money than produced content, and I'm not sure exactly why. I think it has something to do with what category you're in. But the CPM does change depending on the type of content you make.
So Matt Bader. We've had conversations about this, and you are a big proponent of not putting all your eggs in the YouTube basket and supporting alt tech and stuff like that. And we've talked about possibly doing content exclusively for Rumble.
Sure.
And I've kind of come down on the side of like it's a little bit of a waste of time because, like I said, the audience isn't there, the discoverability isn't there. But one of Jeremy's arguments was it's that you need to start doing this stuff in order to bring the audience over there.
Yeah.
But for us, we're pretty small potatoes compared to even Shadiversity or Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of trying to port a portion of our audience over to Rumble where we're not making any money, we're not getting super chats, we're not getting ad revenue, all that stuff is basically counterintuitive for like small to medium sized channels who are still struggling to basically build a business. and a big part of Shadiversity's video is that there aren't any good scenarios where it makes business sense to migrate over to a platform like Rumble. But I know that, from a moral standpoint, it makes a lot of sense to basically try and build an audience on that platform. So did you want to talk a little bit about what we were thinking about in terms of doing exclusive Rumble content and pitfalls associated with it?
I can speak on it, sure. But just to address we don't make any money things over there. It's like, yeah, it's true. A lot of what we do, listen, the money's great. And, we have made a choice to evolve what we do to try to jump from the 9-to-5 job that we all hate to try to make this a go of this. And that's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to, have some fun and hopefully retire someday doing what we love instead of punching the clock for the man. And that's all great. And I do think that we need to have as many options available to the people that watch our show, our fans, our fellowship, our people, that they can view our content on as many different options as they can. We have people, there's 40 people over on Rumble right now that don't like to watch stuff on YouTube because they don't like Google and their overlord bullshit oppression, that they can call out anytime they want. So I personally don't have any issue giving those people a different option to see something. Same thing with Twitch. We have a Kick channel that we simul stream over there. A lot of people don't like Twitch because they're weird, and Kick caters to people like us, I think, for the most part. Same thing with X, there's Threads, there's Truth, there's these other things. Everybody has their thing that they want to use, and they use it however they want. So I don't have a problem with options. I just don't like constantly being felt like I can't say a word on Google without getting the channel demonetized, because it's not just my channel that we're on right now. It's your channel, it's Alex's channel, it's Jude's channel. It's there's a lot of people involved here. And so if something I said got the channel demonetized, I would feel terrible. And, you know, it could easily happen someday. You know, look what happened to Brian. They messed you guys up for something that you probably didn't even do from a year ago, right? It's insane. Yeah. It's insane. So no, I don't have any issues with trying to develop an alternate channel on something like Rumble at all. You know, for the very first time today, I can go over here and I can say, thank you for the $10 Rumble chat for Mr. Sayo. He said, throwing in some hater bucks to remind Craig to pick up string. I have no idea what that means. But you know what? The dude gave us a $10 donation on Rumble. First time ever on Rumble. I didn't even know we were set up to take those over there on Rumble right now. I didn't know we were monetized over there. So, but hey, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. I didn't know you could do that on Rumble.
Yeah.
I didn't know you can even give money on Rumble.
I don't know what that money just got put into. It's probably some weird PayPal account in Zimbabwe.
Siberia.
But so, yeah, I think it's important that you develop alternatives because you never know what's going to happen, man. You just never know what's going to happen. And I'm just really quick. You know, you mentioned, you know, there's ways you can grow those channels. You know, like I mentioned, why don't we do a half hour of Rumble exclusive stuff on the back end of like today's live stream. You know, we ended on YouTube at our normal amount and then go do some stuff over on Rumble. And we talk about stuff on Rumble that, you know, the Google overlords are going to hate, but it doesn't matter because fuck you. We can talk about stuff like that on Rumble, right? You know,
I'm not trying to throw shade at that, but we've tried putting exclusive videos on Rumble and they don't perform at all.
Yeah. Well, also,
YouTube is now punishing people for behavior off platform that goes against their guidelines.
Yeah. Well,
right.
That's right. So that's just says lawsuit to me. When
I will say this. They only did that so they can mess with Crowder.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Brand. The number one thing that anybody, and I've been saying this for 15 years, right? If YouTube is your outlet, you're doing it wrong. You need to be building off platform. Use YouTube, use Rumble, use Twitch, use all of them as a billboard for something off platform, right? There's a lot of people who make a living off YouTube. That's fine. They're playing the game. That's great. But you need to have your own outlet, whether it's your own domain, your own website, whatever it may be, to push that in, whether you're supported through merchandise or whatever, but it needs to be used as a billboard. And that's something we're building towards with Sidescrollers. You know, I don't just talk it. I live it. So we did that with Screw Attack. We did it with everything else and everything else that I've done over the years. And we'll continue to do that. But Rumble is set up. You know, they do have their Rumble rants. They have their channel memberships, which, by the way, the channel memberships, the paid channel memberships, whereas YouTube, you get 70% of that. On Rumble, you get 100% of it through the remainder of the year. And, I think that's really good. Now, they're going to offer gifted memberships. I'm sure gifted memberships are going to start towards the beginning of next year because they're currently offering 100% of the revenue from that. So, I mean, Rumble is set up not for advertising success, but for community support. That's what it's set up for. If you're looking to make money like you do on YouTube from advertisement, it's not going to work.
Not going to happen. Yeah. But they still need to fix these problems. They need to fix a lot of they need an algorithm that actually allows people to get promoted. Again, I have 900 different videos and lives on Rumble. I think I have less views than I have videos. So there need to be some way for people to get to find you organically. They need to fix the web. I mean, the mobile issues they have. Their memberships through locals is super janky, and it should be on platform. It should be going to another completely different website. That's very weird and odd. And I'm not even sure half the time if I have a membership. So there needs to be some technical changes in order for people. I will always support alt tech. I'm all about freedom of speech. I don't agree with half the stuff Crowder says, but I still promote him. I don't agree with everything Brand says, but I still promote him. I support them. I have no problem with what they're doing. I hope that Rumble can compete with YouTube one day, but they have to fix these problems. They have to fix these problems. When smaller websites like BitChute have a better video player than you, then you need to reevaluate your technology. And I think Rumble right now is in a place where it's getting heavily promoted, but it can barely support the people that are trying to support it.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I kind of get, I don't know if upset's the right word, but I kind of get annoyed when I see people like Dan Bongino or Sebastian Gorka or something like that brag about how many viewers they're getting on Rumble. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you're one of the selected few. You're one of the chosen. You're in the in crowd.
Bongino's
You know.
an investor in Rumble.
Yeah.
No.
He is an investor, and he was an investor in the platform that got shut down on Parler, I believe it was. Got shut down during the last election. But he's always been a big supporter of these alt platforms. But at the same time, it's like, well, there's a reason why you're getting all those viewers, and it's because not only do you have the audience from off Rumble that you're promoting to, but Rumble specifically has you on their top tier list to put on the front page and promote.
Right.
So until they make a discoverability factor that actually takes small and medium-sized creators and allows them to get in front of Rumble's audience, no one's going to spend their time over there, because as Shad pointed out in his video, the actual views you get, because like I've had conversations with people who are big time over on Rumble, and they're like, yeah, the viewer counts are bullshit. Like the actual raw views you get, those are impressions. So like when you see like a video get 1,000 views, that's not actually 1,000 views. That's just 1,000 times people saw the thumbnail for that video or something like that, or had an autoplay.
Oh my God. So I have even less views than I think I have.
Yeah, like if you dive into the analytics and you look at the actual views, like Shad broke this down in his video excellently. So like they had like a channel-wide 13,000 raw views, but the actual views, the views that are equivalent to what a view is on YouTube, was like 300, right?
Oh my God.
And he actually says that like on YouTube, it's about a 10% ratio of views to likes. So like if you get 10,000 views, typically for that range of views, you'd get 1,000 likes on a video. And if you look at that ratio on Rumble, the like to view ratio is way out of whack. So if you have like a video that gets 10,000 views, you might get 2 or 3 likes, which gives you a better idea. Like maybe only 100 of those are actual real views as opposed to an impression. And so Rumble's trying to kind of fake it till they make it to a certain point by reporting these big numbers, but those numbers aren't actually representative of the actual views that people are really getting, which is one of the reasons why the ad revenue is kind of like all out of whack over there and stuff like that. And I can understand why they're
Sorry. Question. So do you think that, and this is a question, it's a random question. Do you think that Rumble executives can see that 99.8% of the views are going toward their 14 friends over there, and the rest of the creators are floundering with 1 or 2 views a week? Do you think that if they see that, they'll adjust that? Or do they think that because the promotion they're getting from their 13 to 15 friends is enough for them to continue this path?
Well, I mean, they know what they're doing, right? They know their real numbers. The idea here is that Rumble is trying to kind of pad the numbers in order to attract people. Like I said, fake it before you make it. And honestly, like I don't think focusing in on their big draws is a bad thing, because you have your A-listers, right? You have Russell Brand, you have Steven Crowder, you have Dan Bongino, you have all these guys that use Rumble, and they want to help support them and get them and have them attract more people to the platform. But the idea that they're not doing that in the entertainment space, that they're not doing that in the video game space, that they're not doing that in the health and fitness or beauty space or the podcasting space or whatever, they're not attracting creators over there. The thing that got Kick off the ground was like they were able to attract big creators from Twitch and migrate that audience over to their platform by offering them like 90% rev share and
It's
like
95.
better ratios than what Twitch was offering, right? And also more free speech. So like they wouldn't get banned for promoting gambling stuff or like whatever. But the idea here with Rumble is that they just don't have the built-in audience that YouTube does. And it's because of all these things that we mentioned during the live stream. Craig, do you think there's any chance that someone from Rumble would watch this episode of the Salty Nerd Saturday podcast and actually hear some of our complaints and
Sure.
and make some choices over there?
Yeah, I'll do even better. You give me a detailed bullet list of things that you guys are upset about. I'll put it right in front of them. You know, like they don't like asking somebody to watch 45 minutes talking about how much their platform sucks is like is tough. But if you give me bullet points, but like this is what needs to be changed, and chances are they're going to say, yeah, we know. You know, they're very aware that you know, Rumble initially was not meant to be a video hosting platform. This is all new. This is in the last couple of years, and honestly, they're just now getting to the point to where they're making strides to make those changes in order to compete. Listen, I think Rumble is several years away. You know, I used the analogy earlier about the Warriors and the JV team. And I think that's about as long as it's going to take. You know, if the JV player was to go play in the NBA, I think that's about how long it's going to take before they can compete realistically. Because there's a lot that needs to happen. Now, I'll say this about Kick. Kick is a perfect storm because the revenue is great, right? The 95-5 split is great. There's a lot of questions that people still have about Kick, but at the same time, Twitch was going through some real bad PR. They're limiting people's reach. They're banning people at the time. And let's not forget, Kick is paying a shit ton of money to people right now. I mean, they have massive contracts in play that are meant to be that are meant to serve as marketing for their platform. And so far, it's been pretty successful. It'll be interesting to see if advertisers come over to their platform, and because that's when you are distributing 95% of all subscription revenue to your users, that's great. But it's not enough to sustain a business. They've been very open that their business model is built around advertising, and you know, there's been a lot of shaky content on Kick.
Well, we should also point out that a lot of Kick's business model is based off of their parent company Stake and funneling gamblers over to Stake. And so like as long as Stake is making a profit, they'll keep Kick around as like a loss leader or something like that. I do think that Kick wants to be its own company eventually, but it is basically a front for a gambling company to find new users. Because I think like the average gambler on Stake is worth something like either $3,000 to $6,000 per user. They can expect to make off of everyone that comes over from Kick to there.
Which is why we'll be launching Sidescrollers Gambling here in the next week.
Well, can you hire me? Just give me money to go plug money in the slot
connection
machine.
with the Popcast gambling.
That's right. That's right.
I think
Let's
there's
go.
two things that Craig mentioned that are really important. One is that Rumble's a long-term game for sure. And my comments notwithstanding is that I don't plan to deactivate my Rumble account or unsubscribe from anybody that I follow over on Rumble either. So it's whether you're a viewer, you're a creator, it's a long-term hold. And the second thing that I heard him mention at the beginning of his comments earlier was that make sure that you understand that you've got to be directing them somewhere else, that these are just marketing delivery outlets, if you will, whether it's YouTube or Rumble, that you got to have your own thing. I really think that's really important for creators that are trying to build a brand or something important that, they worry about what is it that, that they're creating and being able to hold on to that ownership, because all these other mediums are delivery mediums to people like me, whether it's Salty Nerd or it's a Popcast or it's Legal Mindset or whatever.
And we should also real quick, Craig, we should also point out, I don't know, everyone on the panel does some type of live streaming, and to get some inside baseball to the people in chat who might not care about this, or the viewers who might not care about this, but immediately after every single one of our live streams, we're demonetized. Our live stream is demonetized. We get hit with the yellow $sign in the YouTube thing. And it's just automatic. Even on our most tamest live streams where we talk about absolutely nothing controversial, immediately afterwards it's like demonetized, and we have to manually appeal it, and it always gets reversed on the manual appeal, because when a human reviewer comes in and sees that we haven't violated any guidelines, they're like, okay, you can now make money. But by the point that time happens, the prime time for the replay, has passed, and so even though YouTube's still playing ads and pocketing that money, we don't get a cut of it. And so, like, has that happened to anyone else other than us?
Oh yeah, it was for us. It was like every other live stream before we demonetized. It was yellow, and people don't understand. That's when the majority of the views come in. So then the next day, when you finally get your monetization back on, you're at 12% of your potential views. The majority of the views come in the first day or two, right? So finally getting remonetized after that. Don't worry about it. We have a system in place to fix this problem. You can appeal your thing, and we'll switch it over. Except for now, all the views, all the money we could have made off that video the majority of it's gone because for the most important part of the video, you decided we weren't going to make any money, yet you were still playing ads. You know what they should do is they should retroactively give you the money for the ads that they still played.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Amen.
It's not going to happen.
I mean, that just seems fair. You're still playing ads on my video, even though I'm not getting a cut of it because I'm not advertiser friendly. Yet the video itself is still advertiser friendly somehow. When we get the appeal pulled, I need that money for the first 2 days our video made the first 25,000 views, please. God,
I think they do have.
You got me mad right now, dude.
Yeah, I believe they do have an escrow account where if you are proven right that you'll get that ad revenue.
That's on copyright claims. That's not on yellow check marks, though.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have a copyright claim, you can appeal the claim, and then it goes to an escrow while they're figuring out whether or not you broke copyright. When they figure out you didn't, you get all that money. But for yellow check marks, that's when you're not appropriate. And that's you don't get anything. There's no escrow for that. That's just like, you're just fucked regardless. It's so stupid. God damn it.
Well, speaking of money, we got 2 super chats here. We got William Forbus for 20 hater bucks. I recently got some merch from the S&P website. Question: what is Bat Rat Spider Crab? Oh. I got the shirt because of the cool pattern, but I am curious. Everyone watching, check out the S&P merch for cool, fun designs. Yeah, if you go to saltynerdstore.com, it's run by Mixed Tees, which is Brian's company over there in Orange County. So Bat Rat Spider Crab comes from our first retro rewatch episode.
Rewatch. Get it right.
Rewatch. I believe it was 2 years ago, possibly 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
It was from a movie called Angry Red Planet, where basically a group of astronauts go to Mars and they encounter a large creature, which is part bat, part rat, part spider, and part crab. And so we just referred to it as Bat Rat Spider Crab. And it came as a suggestion from one of our OG Patreons, Backyard TARDIS, Nick. And so we laughed so much about the Bat Rat Spider Crab that we decided to make a T-shirt to celebrate it, and it's one of my favorite T-shirts. I still wear it to this day.
Yeah.
But that's the origin of Bat Rat Spider Crab. So if you go to saltynerdstore.com, you can find all of our big time designs over there, and we have a lot of fun doing those. In fact, Brian, we just had Overstimulation Calms Me get up on your store. Is that correct?
Yes, and I need to fix the font because it's really low quality, but that's being done today.
Yeah. Yeah. I sent you all this stuff to do that.
Thanks.
Real quick, No Money G for 10 hater bucks. You guys suck. Take these hater bucks and shove it where the sun don't shine. Just joking. Keep it up. Man, I can't even use the S word spelled correctly.
You can't say suck?
Wow.
Demonetized.
What if you spell it
demonetized?
F-U-K? Yeah. I got one, Matt, over on Rumble. From Victor Fontaine, he sends us one Rumble buck, $1. Says, "Hey, I can send Rumble rants." So, thanks for that, Victor. Appreciate that. I like it that people are figuring out you can donate over on Rumble. It's nice.
Yes.
Our group is growing slowly but steadily over there. Every week.
Okay. So. Real quick, guys. Just want to touch base on the dead Star Wars movies before we head out of here. I know Craig can't stay too much longer, but we're just going to cover this real quick. So basically, Dub over on his channel had an excellent video with Valiant Renegade where they kind of talk about Bob Iger coming in and cleaning house in terms of the austerity measures, and part of those are Star Wars. And they have it on very good authority that there are 2 movies in particular that aren't happening anymore. The first is James Mangold's The First Jedi, where they basically said like it's pretty much dead, like because of the failure of Indy 5, they're not going to go forward with it. And then the second one is Taika Waititi's Star Wars, even though it's been said that it's still in development, it's still going forward. Basically, Iger has put the kibosh on that as well. So the only movie that is for sure going forward is the next Rey Palpatine movie that's coming out. And I just want to open it up to the panel real quick. What are your thoughts on the idea that Iger is basically canceling these Star Wars movies?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Let's
Not
cancel them all.
surprised, not shocked. When they made these announcements about these movies, every single one of us went, yeah, right. That's not going to happen. And yeah, not surprised at all, especially with the it's the Mangold one, right? Yeah. So
Yeah, would you
Waititi.
cancel them all and wait like 10 years and then bring a completely different team in to give it the old college try?
Yep.
Well, we are getting, the Rey Palpatine movie. It's still moving forward.
Didn't Iger say something about how they're going to they're pulling back and they're not going to be so politically charged anymore or something like that, right?
Mike, do you want to field that one?
Yeah, Bob's full of crap. That was a footnote in an analyst report at a meeting in Orlando. You can't trust Bob Iger further than you can throw him. # dang it, Bob. And he just whispered that, and that means nothing because on 2 investor calls, 2 quarterly earnings calls in a row, we have heard him state that Disney is not veering from any kind of woke course. In particular, we've got to remember that when asked about it by an investor, Bob responded that he saw himself basically as the current woke effort being analogous to like fighting Nazis in World War II and fighting for the civil rights movement like Rosa Parks style. So, yeah, Disney's not going anywhere. You know what? At this point, release the Rey movie. I want to see how bad it does because one thing we've learned in 2023 is that Disney doesn't know how to release anything that it knows how to make money on, let alone break even.
All right, Vader, we got another Rumble dollar.
Yeah. Hey, we got 2 Rumble bucks from REK Films MT. It says, did not know you was over here. Now I do, and I will follow. It's true, all the issues raised with Rumble. It's hard to follow from a channel like my main Rec Films Montana instead from my master account. So we got another supporter on the Rumble. That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Okay, guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank our fantastic panel of nerds for being here and sharing their insights with us. Mike, Mexican Iron Man, not a YouTuber, in the sorry state of California. Thank you for being here today. Do you have any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Midnight Sedge After Dark, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, and 4 o'clock Pacific. I'm now used to the different time zones. Thanks for having me, Mr. Kadish. And I apologize earlier for calling you Matt. I meant to say Mr. Kadish.
Yes, get it right or you will not be invited back.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So Stuttering Craig from Sidescrollers, thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate all your insights, especially on the Rumble discussion. Do you have any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
My final thoughts are thank you for having me on. Yeah, we are like 10 subscribers away from 44,000 over on Sidescrollers. We've grown about 6,000 in the past 2 weeks. So come join us over there. We're growing like a weed. So we'd love for you to join us. We're live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. 11 a.m. We go for about 90 minutes or so. So if you like gaming, entertainment, and we're at the cross section of culture, that is what Sidescrollers is. And we are live to welcome you into our wonderful little community. We'd love to say hi to you.
All right, fantastic. And Brian from the Popcast, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
I'm really sad that we didn't get to talk about how Jason Momoa would dress up as Johnny Depp to mess with Amber Heard on the set of Aquaman 2.
I'm sure we'll
we
do
just
it
ran out of
Tuesday.
time. Yeah.
That is hilarious, by the way. I want to see that so badly. Other than that, you can find me at The Popcast and The Popcast Live, or our Prime channel and our Unleashed channel. You'll find us. Just type in The Popcast. And as far as stuff going on right now, I'm waiting on scripts from Shane, but we have a lot of stuff in the works, and we're hoping to apply for our remonetization in a couple weeks. We'll see how that goes.
Wishing
And
you
by the way,
luck
we've
on
been
that one.
still creating content with zero money on that channel. Just a heads up.
For the love of the game, baby. For the love of the game.
Yep, got to do it for the fans. Matt Vader 74.
Yeah.
What do we got going on the Salty Nerd channel this week?
Oh, we have our weekly dive into the abyss of loneliness and despair. That is our weekly invasion episode reviews. Terrible show. Don't watch it. Just watch us talk about it. And we're going into October, and that means scary movies on the Salty Nerd podcast. And our very first release coming up this next Friday is a visit to that classic movie, Scream. And we all watched it. We had a good time talking about it, and you guys are all going to get to see it on Friday. So, yeah. And we have some stuff coming out on our exclusive channels for our Patreons and for our memberships. You know, I get to talk to Alex about how you don't want to go to Iceland to go on vacation. Just don't. It's not fun. So
Yeah,
there you go. That's what we got coming up.
Big heads up to everyone on Sunday. We're dropping our highlight from that conversation. And on Monday, members get the full video where you get to see Matt Vader go truly nuclear on Alex about his choice of vacation destinations. It's really, really funny. Highly want to check it out. And also, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Criticalist. If you go to criticalist.com, it's a free movie review website / app. You can get it on your iPhone or your Android device. It's highly addictive, so be warned, but we've been using it here on the Salty Nerd podcast, and the owner or creator of the site is going to be a guest on one of our Saturday streams, and he's also going to have a segment on the upcoming Tuesday streams to kind of give us some reviews of current movies and stuff like that. So really appreciate him. Want to give them all the support that we can find. And also want to shout out the top haters of this episode, the guys who gave us the big hater bucks: Mexican Iron Man, No Money G, Gavin Blackburn, Culture Casino, and William Forbus. Thank you all so much for your support. I don't know if you guys can hear that car alarm outside my place, but it's very annoying. Thank you guys.
Don't forget Rec Films, MT, Victor Fontana, and Sayo over on Rumble. Thank you for your donations, guys.
Yes, thank you all so much for those of you who support the show. As we said, our goal is to get to the point where Matt Vader can do this full time. He can quit his shitty job and just to hang out with you guys the entire time. But thank you all for being here, and join us next Saturday, same salty time, same salty channel. We've got to have a lot more stuff to talk about, and join us on Tuesday. Remember, saltynerdlive.com. You can always find our next upcoming live stream right there. And until next time, stay salty, my friends.